Jeannette is a lifelong, independent, self-sufficient visual artist, writer, and activist. She recently spent 2 years incarcerated for a crime that she did not commit and was actually the victim of. While incarcerated, she wrote 9 books and immediately started a publishing company upon her release. Her first book was a collection of poetry and sketches that brings readers into the cell with her. And her journals, which track her experiences in jail, including being thrown into segregation for refusing to wear a bra, are next to be released. So, welcome, Jeannette.
Hi. All right. Well, let's start with a little story about when I was maybe about 5-ish or so. You know, when you're a little girl and, you know, sometimes when you're so young, your parents allow you to run around without a top because you don't have breasts at that age. Well, I remember being in the front yard with my next door neighbor who was the same age as me, and you know, we're just little kids, but we were comparing breast sizes. We didn't have any at the time, but at that point, my mom comes out and says, all right, put on a top, and from this point on, you have to wear a top. And I was like, well, why? That's like so unfair. There's, you know, my brother running around without a top. Why do I all of a sudden have to, you know, wear a top? I didn't understand. Later on, when I was a teenager and I started growing breasts, then there was the issue about bras. Well, you know, you're getting breasts, you got to start wearing a bra. So I would put on a bra, and they're always like tight, and the straps are falling. Actually, I got a strap falling right now on my undershirt. But so I tried to wear a bra for a while, but I started thinking, well, what is the actual point of wearing a bra? Like, I don't have like huge breasts, so I don't have anything to hold, and it feels a lot better when I don't wear one, so why should I? And I went to a Catholic high school, and, you know, everybody would wear, you know, a white blouse, all the girls, and a lot would wear, you know, black bras underneath, so, you know, the guys could see, but I wore, like, a black t-shirt, and no bra, and I never got bothered. Nobody said anything, or at least not to my face, so it was all right. And then later in my teenage years, in my later high school years, the top freedom activism started in Guelph, Ontario, where Gwen Jacobs took off her top, got arrested, and a few years later she overturned the law, which, according to the media, now women could go topless in Ontario. I don't think that's what the goal was, so all women could go topless. It was so the laws could be equal. So a man's chest and a woman's chest has equal rights. That's why, because you can't discriminate just because a woman has mammary glands. So so I was like right in on that. So I'm like, this is great, especially, you know, remembering my little 5-year-old self. So the law got changed in Ontario, and some towns decided to put in a bylaw, which is like, you can't do that. So the city of Cambridge put in a bylaw saying, oh yeah, women could, you know, walk around topless all they want in Ontario, just not in the city of Cambridge. So me and another lady, we swam in a public pool without our tops. Took about a year, but we actually did overturn the bylaw, so I was successful in that. So, you know, that meant a lot to me. I was young, I was in the media all the time, which gets to your head. And I started one of Canada's first medical marijuana clubs at the time. There was only 4 in Canada. There was one in Vancouver, 3 opened up in Ontario. I was the one in Kitchener. I actually helped overturn the medical marijuana law, so people could, this was in, 1998, so people could, medical patients could have it. I remember working with a lot of the activists, and they're all out, you know, saying this and saying that, and I realized none of them are actually talking to Health Canada, so I actually started talking to Health Canada and writing. Actually, ironically, the guy in charge of this university, Alan Rock, at the time was also the health minister and then the justice minister. So I would be writing and corresponding with him a lot about the situations, and I got a call saying, from Health Canada saying, you know what, in about 6 months we're going to make it legal for medical marijuana patients to have access to marijuana. And I'm like going, okay, that's cool. I got accepted at college at the same time. I moved to Niagara because I got accepted to Niagara College to their graphic art and design program. Well, now I moved from the Waterloo region, where I was a known activist in the area, always, saying wonderful stuff about human rights, getting respected by the politicians and the media. I was getting awards and all that stuff. So I moved from the Waterloo region to the Niagara region, where they're like, well, who the hell is this topless dope smoking chick? Think that she's going to move into our area? Well, in Kitchener, where everybody's like, woo, human rights, women's rights, Niagara was all like, so like, let's see your titties, babes. And yeah, that's, the media would ignore me, the politicians would ignore me, nobody wanted to talk to me. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm here for college anyways. And it's kind of cool that nobody really cares, because I could kind of use the break, so I just concentrated on my studies. But I found I was constantly being harassed. I'm 38 years old right now, and I'll probably still be harassed for the rest of my life. When you're an activist in your early age, that pretty much means that you can't get any job. You're all over the media. So I've been self-employed all my life. Anyways, when you're in a community like the Niagara region, which is a real like old white boy community, and you're like this self-spoken woman, a lot of it's very threatening to an area like that when you're like really like self-sufficient and independent. It pisses a lot of people off. So by the time I was about 30, I ended up in jail, wrongfully convicted, about 3 months after I ran as an independent for the provincial election. 38 years old. Sorry, I'm messing up my time here. But I ran for the provincial election. I said a lot of stuff. I stood up and I said the truth. I ran a newsletter. I wrote things. Next thing you know, I reopened up my art gallery. 5 days later, the place gets torched. I'm standing outside my burning art gallery. The cops come up to me going, where's the gas can? I'm like, what gas can? Next thing you know, handcuffs are on me. I'm in the back of the cruiser. And I spent 2 years in jail. So, back to the bra situation. In jail, at Vanier Center for Women, one of the policies is that all women must wear a bra. So you're telling this to a mature woman who's never worn a bra and actually fought for the law on equal rights when it comes to top freedom to put on a bra. And I looked at them and I said, no, you're violating my human rights, and I know it's perfectly legal and okay for me not only not to wear a bra, but it's illegal for you to actually force me to wear a bra. Well, hey, tell that to a guard in an institution. They don't like that. I was in medium security at the time. I was there for about 6 months. Next thing you know, I'm in maximum security, where I spent the rest of my 2 years. Which is kind of interesting that I ended up in maximum security and stayed in there and in segregation several times for this situation. If you beat somebody up, beat several people up in medium security where I was, or if you're caught with drugs or dealing drugs in medium security where I was, they'll put you in segregation for maybe 3 days. About a month or two later, you're back into medium. Oh, but if you don't wear a bra, you get kept in maximum security. And I don't think it was, quite personally, the fact that I refused to wear the bra. It's because I stood up for my rights. It's a power and control trip. So I refused to wear. There's no way I was going to put on a bra, because I knew that I would just feel humiliated and ashamed, and I did not want to go through that. So I took it. I stayed, and I decided, I'll fight it. Like, even when they're saying stuff to me, like, the deputy assistant superintendent or whatever his title was telling me, you can't go around without a bra because your nipples might show through your shirt and that's going to cause chaos. It's like, really? Like, are you really telling me this? Really? The male guards might rape you. It's like, I just gained 60 pounds in jail. I don't think they want to do that. So, plus, when you're in jail for 2 years, you make friends with the guards, and, some of them were actually cool, so I don't think they would want to do that. Anyways, so I'm trying to fight this, and I'm decided I'm going to just write letters. I'm writing letters to any organization I could even get a hold of an address to that has to do with prisons rights, human rights, and there's tons out there. They're being, funded by the government. They're all got social work degrees and blah, 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 and I hardly got any letters back. Not too many people are responding. I did get a letter from Big Chick at the Elizabeth Fry Society, and it's like, oh, well, we support you. This wonderful official letter of support. It's like, great, what am I supposed to do with the hell of a letter in jail? Like, what's that going to do? So I wrote back and I'm like, yay, thanks for your support, but like, do you have like a lawyer or something I could do to help fight this situation? Like, I called the Human Rights Tribunal and they're like, yeah, it's illegal, we'll send you the forms. It's like, oh, cool, you're going to send me forms. Well, good luck if they get to me. And if they do, if I fill them out and send them back to you, like, everything has to go through the guards and they have to read everything. That's not going to happen. I had 1 year or 2 years to do a human rights claim. And so I was in for 2 years anyway. So, it's like, oh, well, this is not going too well. And unfortunately, the jail knew that I had no support. Like, I'm an independent woman. Like, I have no family. I've never been married, never had children. I don't have any parents that are existing or anything. So when you're a person that's alone and vulnerable, people really do take advantage of that. And they know I'm writing everybody, and they know people aren't responding. So they're just keeping me in there. And it really does suck. But it is interesting because most of the orders to keep me maximum security was coming from the management and the superintendent's office. A lot of the guards were actually divided on the issue. Some were all for me and would say, write to me in private, keep fighting it, go ahead, we don't want to see this happen to you, you're a good person. And I thought that was totally cool. And apparently there was a lot of arguments amongst the guards about this situation. And apparently some of them even went to the superintendent's office to try to talk them out of doing this to me. So the first time I spent in segregation was 14 days. That was the first time. I was in a few times. Let me just see my notes to see where I am. Okay, yeah. And then I ended up, they didn't do anything for a year, just kept me in maximum security. I was braless the whole entire time. They didn't do anything. And then one day, after a year, close to about 2 months before my release, they decided, oh no, we're going to do something about this now. They throw me back in segregation. Immediately, I went on a hunger strike. I starved myself for 10 days, didn't do anything but drink water. For 10 days, I was losing 1 to 2 pounds a day. After, I think, about 5 days, it started to kick in, and I started losing 1 to 2 pounds a day. They would weigh me every day, take my vitals, and they started going. I started getting really pale, my really yellow underneath the eyes and stuff. You can see it happening to me. So after 10 days, they said, you know what? We're going to put a hold on our policy. We're not going to, do anything anymore. We're not going to, we'll make it okay. We're not going to disturb you anymore. And I'm like, oh, great. Well, can I go back to medium security? Oh, we'll see about that. So, after a few weeks of, they put me back in range. I'm like, well, if I'm still in maximum security because I'm not wearing a bra, then I'm still being punished. Like, are you guys going to put me to medium security? It's like, oh, no, we'll just keep you in maximum security. It's like, what? I'm almost done my time at that point, and I decided, and I'm going to just change jails, and which is what I did. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I wrote a lot of things in jail. I'm a writer and an artist by trade, and I wrote 9 novels in jail. I wrote my journals the whole entire time. So I'll read journals. The first one is from November 3rd, 2012. So it would have been my 3rd day in segregation. So here it is, written at that day. I'm in segregation. Been here since Thursday morning, November 1st. They asked me to work laundry again, and I just started when a white shirt, the one who I asked about strip searches, came in and called me out into the hall. She told me to put on a bra. I refused. She locked me in seg. I'm here on administration hold until I put on a bra. They are trying to shame me, weaken me, wanting to take power and control over my breasts. It's like rape. I will not give in. I've been incarcerated for 8.5 months. and never worn a bra. Why would one authority figure all of a sudden decide to punish me for having breasts? Power and control. Power and control. I will not give them power and control over my body parts. I will not give in. I'm sick of hearing them sexually degrade me by saying how they don't want to see my flabby tits flopping around. The same people who strip search me and tell me to bend over and touch my toes as they look at my crotch. The same people who watch me take out my tampon when I'm completely naked and watch me insert another one. If they don't want to see breasts, then they shouldn't be working in a women's jail. It's just an excuse. It's just an excuse anyways. It has nothing to do with my disgusting breasts. They say as they try to humiliate me. It's about power and control, humiliating me and breaking my body down into sexual parts, dehumanizing me just like a rapist. I won't let them break my spirit. I must remain strong. So that was what I wrote when they first put me, 3 days after I was first put into segregation. There is something called the Client Conflict Resolution Unit that they have in jails. If you, there's a sign by the payphones, Client Conflict Resolution Unit, and it says if you've been experiencing discrimination against, and it mentions all parts of Charter 15A, I believe it is, about discrimination against sex and race, blah, 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 then call this number and these people are here to help you solve the problems with the jail. So, this is about 2 weeks after I get out of segregation. I called the client conflict guy. What an asshole. He said he looked into the matter and the rules of the jail for having to wear a bra are in place because if an inmate doesn't wear a bra, her nipples might show and guards might look, and that would cause trouble. This guy, whose job it is to be behind the inmates if their human rights are being violated, said he agreed to these rules. They are also funded by the Ministry of Correction, by the way. I asked him if we should all be wearing jail-issued burqas then, because my female body is just a sex object and must not be seen. He ignored my comments. I argued with him for about 20 minutes until the recorded phone message said my time was up. You're only allowed 20 minutes on the phone and then it hangs up on you. The more I argued with him, the more he made sexually degrading remarks in his defense on the subject. He said I didn't understand the reasoning. I told him I understand his sexually demeaning comments very well. I gave him the order to look further into the issue and told him where to look and who to contact so he is proven that this is a violation against my human rights. I told him I will call back next week and he better have looked into it by then. So, yeah, I'm generally a laid-back person, but, if you piss me off. So, yeah, you violate my rights, I do get very adamant about it. Somebody did set me up with a human rights lawyer while I was in jail, so I did end up going to a human rights claim. If anybody has to deal with lawyers, unless you're rich and important, they don't care. It doesn't matter. So somebody saw that they might make a little money off of this and decided to take my case. Because, quite personally, I could do it myself, but I know when you're the person in a situation and somebody's doing something to you, even if you could do something yourself and you're perfectly capable, just having a third party there next to you really means a lot, especially if you're a prisoner, because nobody's going to listen to you, nobody's going to get things done. On one of my misconduct sheets, actually, one of my misconducts for not wearing a bra, they forged my signature. I refused to sign any misconduct forms, so they forged it. I found that out through that there was a signature there when I ordered the forms through the Freedom of Information Act, and I saw them. I went to the superintendent. They didn't do anything about it. I contacted the deputy minister in Queen's Park, and they're like, we're not going to do anything about it. And as soon as I got somebody with a title to write the exact same letter I wrote them, they decided to look into it. So I got this lawyer just as a third party, and I did go to the Human Rights Tribunal April 7th for a mediation thing, which I guess is like a shut up thing. Here's some money and shut the fuck up type thing. So It was mediated. I actually not allowed to talk about it, but I don't give a fuck. What am I gonna do? Go to jail? Spend more time in jail? I'm on the system right now. Anything could bring me into jail. It doesn't matter. I'll probably end up in jail again because I know my life and what happens. But they are allowing me to say, by raising her concerns with the ministry, Ms. Tossounian raised awareness regarding clothing requirements for female inmates. So that's what I'm allowed to say. I'm not allowed to say to you people right now that I won the claim off of gender identity, gender expression, and sexual discrimination, and that I set a precedence, but that's not going to be publicized or anything because there are other cases about it right now, and they're going to be the public ones that set the public precedence, even though I'm the first one that did it, but that's whatever. I'm used to being screwed over, but it's not, it's not about the publicity, it's about that people need to know what's going on. That's what it's about. It's what happened to me. I'm a fighter, and that's the way I've always been. Like, some things I'll let go, but if I really have to, I'll fight. And I'm in jail with a whole bunch of women who are mostly uneducated, mostly addicted to drugs, and have never. They are fighters, but in a different way. When it comes to fighting the system, they had no idea. While I was in jail, I was filling out forms for people. I was like the activist. I was getting everybody to write petitions for things. At one point, they took away some of our canteen items, and off in maximum security, I got everybody to write a petition. And like almost a year later, they put them back in the items and stuff like that. But nobody knows how to do that. And the unfortunate thing is, the system knows that these women in jail, which is different than men, because men in jail will stand up for their rights, women in jail won't, and that's a big difference between the women's and the men's. The women just get pounded on, abused, and they're not speaking up. And I've tried to get people to speak up. I was the only one that would do it. Women, they're afraid to speak up. They're afraid to do anything. The jail didn't think I would be doing anything about this when I got out, because they're used to the average inmate. They get out of jail, they just go back to prostitution and drugs, and that's how they see everybody. Even if you're like an educated professional in jail, you get treated like you're nothing, and it's really disgusting. I read you 2 parts of my journals. I will be publishing them. I'm typing them up right now. I wrote them all in pencil. And I will be publishing them hopefully within the next few months. Ankledonebooks.com is my little publishing company. So I think that would be really interesting, especially for people who are really interested in this topic, to read, because I don't only write about myself, but I did write other people's stories. I wrote about people who tried, I wrote about, other the tons of immigrants that are being deported, their personal stories. You wouldn't believe this, but at least 2 to 3 times a week, there would be a woman coming in, beaten up. One woman had a jaw broken, and another, faces completely bruised, scars all over them, because they were in jail because when they were getting beaten up, they called 911 because their boyfriend was beating them up. And when the police comes to their house, there's a hysterical woman screaming, and guy going, I don't know what her problem is, and all cool and calm. And what do the cops do? Well, hysterical woman screaming must be the one that's, got the problem. They just arrest them and stick them in jail. Sometimes they'll stick both people in jail, but it's like, okay, so if boyfriend's beating you up, you call 911, you go in jail. This would happen. On the range I was on, 2-3 times a week, there would be a girl coming in like that. Her crime was calling 911 when she was getting beaten up. Like, seriously, this is the reality. And people don't know about this, or if they do, they're very apathetic. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, whatever, they're all criminals. It's like, no, they're not. Most of them are in here for circumstantial reasons. Like, sure, there were some girls in there who were like murderers and violent. I would say that maybe like a very small percent of the women in jail I would, feel scared to come across in public. And anybody in this room right now could end up in jail for any reason. Like, it doesn't matter. Ex-boyfriend has a problem, say you stole something. Like, it doesn't matter. The cops just come, arrest you, and let the courts figure it out. That's all it really is. But anyways, one thing that I did find interesting, and I did write a little thing here. When I did go to the Human Rights Tribunal, there was a guy there. The Ontario Ministry of Corrections made a new position for a human rights policy person. So I met with him, and his job is, it's new, and I don't think the public actually knows about this yet. I think they told me ahead of time. So I think they're going to release this in a few months. But his job for the next 10 years, he's got a 10-year contract, to look at all the policies in corrections with inmates and with guards and like every policy altogether, to go through it to see if there's any human rights concerns and to change those policies. Actually, at the end of the human rights meeting, he shook my hand and said, "You just did part of my job right there." So that one was cool. So there might be some hope, because I did talk to some people at the top, and they are aware, the people at the top, that there are problems with the system. What to do about it, you know, but because there's all this stuff in the middle. You got the prisoners down there, you got those people at the top, but all this stuff in the middle, geez, it's just one crazy, crazy world. Anyways, I'm about to wrap up. I did publish my first book, Songs from the Slammer. These are some of the poems and sketches that I did in my jail cell. So the sketches are pretty much of my jail cell and jail items, jail issued items. And I read them, read some poems last night if you were at the art show. Because I'm broke, my whole entire business got burned, and I spent 2 years in jail, and you know, I'm trying to restart my life, so I did a publishing company, first book, Songs from the Slammer. They're $20. You could buy them from me. I put a stack in room 4004, which I may or may not be in the room at the time. You can also buy them online at ICOPA15.com. So, and then I'll be releasing my jail journals within a few months, so if you guys want to help me out, that would be awesome. And yeah, I think that's it.